Welcome into the latest episode of Betting the Pitch MLB edition. I'm your host, real_G Warner. I have at A Brooks Bets with me as always. We've had a couple snafus. I will take the blame in the last couple episodes. My picks have won, my best bets, but the upload, I think we double audioed last episode, and the episode before that, we only had a video of at A Brooks Bets. So I tried to put it on using the other video that had both of us in the week before. Anyway, I'm basically restarting anew. This is part of the glitches that go with being your own writer, producer, rapper, everything. So we'll do better for next time. Speaking of doing better next time, at A Brooks Bets, I think your best bet, the Brewers gave up a run in the first inning and no other runs were scored the rest of the game. That was brutal. That's a bad beat, Scott Van Pelt. I think you got what you want.
Leadoff home run to Jazz Chisholm. That was it.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know exactly how the run scored, but it seemed like Freddie was good.
Yeah, he was. He's really good tonight as we record this as well. He went 5 2/3, just shy of that quality start mark, and struck out 11, I believe. He
Oh,
also
okay.
left the game losing 1-0. So he's getting no run support and no luck there, my man Freddie. But he's racking up the strikeouts, or at least he did today.
Yeah, the Brewers made Justin Steele look like he's back to form yesterday. Somehow they won late though. So we'll see. I mean, it's a weird time of the year. I feel like every week we do this podcast, someone's hot, someone's cold. It's hard to explain or guess who's going to be next. But that's why we go through each of these games on this podcast. We'll have best bets end of show. They'll be cut and put onto YouTube at the real_G Warner and on Instagram in 1 minute versions if you would rather digest this podcast that way. But I think if you're a true baseball fiend, lover, better, anything, you probably want to hear us going through each of these games. So stick around with us. We'll start in the National League with St. Louis and Andre Palante. He's visiting Cincinnati and Frankie Montas. We didn't have a line until seconds ago, so maybe it's a good thing at A Brooks Bets was doing his nails while I was waiting in the chat room. But what do you think about these Cincinnati Reds? Had a really good weekend series with the Dodgers. Nick Lodolo looked pretty good coming back off the IL on Monday. I know you are big into Ellie De La Cruz, but he hasn't had a lot of help so far on the offensive side. So they're just gonna have to pitch to win.
That sounds right because they are in the bottom 5 in offensive metrics pretty much across the board, except for stolen bases, which is they're an aggressive team. I think they've stolen 90 something bases, which leads the league, and they've only gotten caught 22 times, which isn't out of line. You know, it is in the top 5, but they're aggressive and they're good at it. But they're not hitting home runs. They're not scoring that many runs, and their batting average is bottom 5 as well. So not really getting on base. You know, I again think that the Reds are kind of disappointing. Everybody thought they'd take a step up, and they're just kind of not doing it yet. You know, I think they will have to pitch to win. I don't think the Cardinals are all that good. Payante, I just saw, is the starter, I guess, for St. Louis. I don't know much about him. Frankie Montas on the hill for the Reds.
So Palante basically has been trying to keep a Major League Baseball roster spot. I don't even know what his clock looks like, but it seems to me that he's pretty much that 4A type of pitcher that is trying like heck to latch on to the big league team. Clearly they've kept him, haven't dealt him, so it seems that there's some value that St. Louis sees in him. When you're talking about teams that are struggling or not living up to expectations, I feel like the St. Louis Cardinals are the poster child for that as well. So we basically have two teams that aren't really doing much, aren't hitting much, is I think especially the problem. I probably prefer St. Louis's bullpen, but they're on the road. So this line is pretty much saying these teams are even. The games in Cincinnati, last at bats in certainly favor the home team. And Frankie Montas, though, I feel like is really hard to trust at this point. I would probably lean towards the home team just because if this goes to extra innings or ninth inning even, there's a last at bat type of advantage there, but I don't know that there's so much that's pushing me either direction.
Yeah, I'll ride with you there. That sounds like good logic to me. It's a toss-up game and it's a toss-up line, so ride with the home team. I like it.
We'll move next to Philadelphia at San Francisco. Christopher Sanchez at Kyle Harrison. Looks like Sanchez a minus 124 road favorite on Philadelphia, which I think is probably explainable based on how well Philadelphia's played this season. Total is 8, juiced very heavily to over. Certainly in the daytime, that's when home runs are the easiest to hit at AT&T or Oracle or whatever park it's called in some San Francisco, Silicon Valley type of company. I don't still think it's very easy to score runs there. San Francisco, I think, basically would be a bottoms five team if they didn't play at home, but they're very, very capable, it seems, in that ballpark. I feel like the 5 run comebacks have at least stopped after it seemed like it was 5 straight games, or at least there was a blown save, and I feel like even more straight games last week. Kyle Harrison, I just feel like he had a lot of expectations coming up from the minor leagues, has never really delivered on it, throws 70+% fastballs, and it gets hit pretty hard. But then Christopher Sanchez hasn't been very good, with high expectations coming into the fantasy season for sure. So where are we going with this one? Are you believing in Philadelphia? Because they looked really bad defensively. Alec Boehm had one of those days where he
Yeah.
was about to say, "I hate it here," or something like that. But I guess since he was in San Francisco, he could get away with it.
Yeah, he wasn't at home for this one. I guess if you hit poorly enough, they end up cheering you. That's like they did with Trey Turner last year. I don't really know what to say about Philly fans. I'm a Boston guy, so you know what I want to say about them. Um, they're passionate. Let's just keep it there.
Yeah, yeah, they
The
are.
it's yeah, it's better than some fan bases. Now, battle of these two lefties here. Both of their ERAs are under 4. I mean, Christopher Sanchez and Kyle Harrison. It's like I'm interested in the under here. I know that I guess the daytime is a little bit nicer when that dense fog marine layer rolls in at night. It seems to get a little heavy and damp there in San Francisco all summer long. But I'm interested in the under, especially if it goes up to 8.5. Um, I do see the defensive issues. I was watching, yeah, Alec Boehm not look great. Castellanos is never good in the field, no matter where he is. So those issues might rear their ugly head, and I'll end up hating this one. But I'm gonna lean under.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't let a daytime less marine layer all of a sudden turn. I don't think it turns the park into an over park by any means. And I mean, the nice part about 8 is you got even money or better right now, and a push worst case scenario, the Andrew Schnicker free movie technique. So it wouldn't be so bad. I'm probably. I think I'm with you there. I think Sanchez is gonna turn into something good at some point, but I just don't know when it is gonna happen. But the nice part for Philadelphia in a San Francisco ballpark is they're not going to hit a lot of home runs, and that's kind of what they're built to do. So I feel like that's one of those parks where they can be neutralized. I really don't like Kyle Harrison, though. I'll say that. Moving next to Miami, visiting San Diego, Braxton Garrett at U Darvish. Darvish coming off a massacre from at the hands of the Bronx Bombers, who truly did bomb U Darvish. Uh, Probably reminded him of World War II. But looks like San Diego -164 favorite, home total of 7.5. Juice very heavily to under. Do we think Miami, who got a lot of respect in tonight's game, at least from a Luzardo on the mound type of situation? Braxton Garrett coming off, I think, a complete game at Arizona, so we'll see if he keeps that trajectory going. But what do we think about this one? Pretty big favor on San Diego at home.
Yeah, this is a big price to pay for backing San Diego. I know they're at home. Darvish is coming off of maybe it's a bounce back spot like in college football or other sports. You might see it a little bit more, but um, it, I like Darvish. I've been looking to back him all year. I don't know if I really like it at this price though. The Marlins are not all that great. Again, this seems to me though, I guess priced kind of accurately. I want to lean more on the Padres than I am, but the line looks pretty solidly in their favor. So, um, I'll go. I'm backing Padres in this one.
Okay, I think under will probably be my biggest interest in this one. Getaway day, which will, I mean, certainly easier to hit the ball further in all these West Coast parks on the daytime side of the ledger. But Braxton Garrett, he's always been someone with decent strikeout numbers, which I is what I look for in pitchers coming up from the minors. He hasn't been able to really stick. It feels like I feel like Miami always wants to get him out of the rotation, but once they start trading away all their arms, maybe he'll finally get a spot. A lot of day games. So we have another one this time on the East Coast. The Dodgers visited New York Mets. We get James Paxton at looks like David Peterson is coming up from the minors. Speaking of a 4A type of pitcher who's been trying like hell to find some place to stay in the Major League Baseball, I guess at that type of roster level. Paxton -119 favorite away from home. Total is 8.5. She's pretty heavily to over. James Paxton plays for a good team, but doesn't seem to be the James Paxton of old. It feels like more of a Yankees James Paxton than certainly a Mariners one, or what we saw from the Red Sox version of James Paxton last year. What do we think about this one? Mets still have a lot of bullpen issues.
This is Dodgers all the way for me. Minus 122. We were talking about them $3 favorites in the last podcast, and now they're less than half of that. I mean, this is almost a toss up. It seems like. I know Paxton isn't their ace. He's not really kind of expected to carry the load, though. I mean, they've got the offense to be there in any game, no matter what. Like you said, Peterson is a quadruple A pitcher. I mean, I they got swept today. I know that the Dodgers lost what 5 in a row until they swept the Mets today in a doubleheader. But yeah, hammer the Dodgers in this one at minus 122, minus 125.
Yeah, I think the Mets, I just like probably you and I were talking about this. I was really into the Mets bullpen probably a month ago, and it has gone completely the other direction. No, absolutely no faith in Edwin Diaz. He pitched the seventh inning before they blew the game on Friday night, I think it was. Then he came in, got the closer role on Saturday, and he blew it in the ninth. I don't know where they go. And if you don't know how you're going to close games, it's really hard to win Major League Baseball games, especially against the best regular season team in all of baseball. So I lean to the Dodgers here. I don't know how long Paxton's going to hang around in this rotation. I'd love to bet against him. I just don't think the Mets are a team I want to do that with. Moving next to the night window, we have Washington at Atlanta. We have Mac. We have, excuse me, what's this? Mackenzie Gore. That's what it is. At a certain gentleman named Schwellenbach.
Schwellen, yeah.
Schwellenbach. I hope that's right. Anyway, we got Schwellen dot dot dot. So I know there's more letters on the site I'm using. But anyway, Atlanta minus 150 favorite at home. Pretty big for some guy I've never heard of or seen his name even spelled out correctly before. Total is 9, pretty juiced to the under. I gotta say, I really have something for this Washington team. They are awful, but they are profitable, as you've mentioned on this podcast. And Mackenzie Gore is starting to look like a good pitcher.
Yeah, a top prospect who's kind of rounded the corner, I think. He's it took a while. He should have been this, or everybody thought he might have been this 3 or 4 years ago, but he came over in the Juan Soto trade, I believe.
Yep.
And they also got CJ Abrams in that trade, and they also got James Wood, who's in their minor league system as a top prospect. So that trade is kind of to be determined. The Padres only got 2 years of him and made the league championship series over there. So
yeah, well, where I don't think
yeah.
Juan Soto, if you haven't decided that it's already in the Padres' favor, now that Juan Soto is playing for the New York Yankees and I think just came in and might have even swept or at least won a series in San Diego this weekend, I feel like the scale is tipped in a certain direction. It's not towards San Diego and AJ Preller.
Yeah, but you do have to factor in the Michael King and all the other 5 pitchers they got from New York, I guess, if you kind of want to parlay their returns into the 2 years of Soto they got in court, as opposed to the Yankees side.
I'll give you that. The
The
idea of
writing's still out on Michael King.
I would say so. I mean, you could
Soto
say
just
the re-gifting is probably something, like you get a gift for Christmas and you want to pass it on to someone else that you think would like it better than you, or you just don't want it and you have to move it somewhere. That's what it sounds like to me here. But okay.
Mackenzie Gore is a prized possession that I don't think you'd want to trade to the next guy at the potluck, though. I do like the Nationals as well. They have proven to be profitable on paper, and I'll probably take a swing at them here at plus 150.
Yeah, I want that side. I think there's also good reason to look towards a run line, have them lose by a single run and you still cover, or if you win, they win, all that sort of stuff. Very interesting to me. I like that totally, and it also reminds me of a white elephant way back when my first job out of college, where someone gave edible underwear at a company, white elephant, if you know what I'm talking about, and our Secret Santa is another way to say it.
Mm-hmm.
And the cameraman who wasn't really part of the company, but like shot the camera stuff for when we did holiday parties or something like that. He was the last pick and got to pick anyone on the board, and he took the edible underwear and pointed to his wife. So I'll just move on to the next game.
Welcome to the corporate world.
I mean, I was like, holy shit. I just shotgunned before walking in here. What are we doing now? But anyway, we'll move now to Chicago and those Milwaukee Brewers, a big rivalry matchup in a little, I think an hour and a half south, or hour and a half north of Chicago. We have Shota Imanaga and Bryce Wilson. Imanaga a minus 129 favorite here. Total is 7.5, juiced pretty heavily to over. It might the most interesting thing to me about this matchup is Imanaga was like supposed to pitch on whatever, like Sunday, Friday, something like that, and then had a rain out. They ended up doing a doubleheader and they just pushed him like 4 days later. It feels like super long rest. I don't know what that says about maybe trying to keep him fresh, or maybe there's something he's complaining about. I don't know exactly the story behind it all. I just know Imanaga was supposed to pitch days ago and it didn't happen. So, what do you feel about Milwaukee, Bryce Wilson, the another 4A starter that's trying to hang on to a roster spot, but he seemingly has been in a Major League Baseball bullpen his entire career?
Well, when he's been on the hill, Imanaga's been probably the best pitcher in the game. He has the best and most effective fastball in the game, despite averaging 93 miles an hour. I mean, that's if you want to go with the baseball savant sabermetric type stats, the effectiveness and the
I choose to
win
believe
rate.
in savants, so
Yeah,
I'll take that.
yeah. Um, so I'm gonna lean Chicago here. I know it's on the road, but like you mentioned, they call it Wrigley North. It's only 90 miles north of Chicago. It's half or more Cubs fans every single time. Um, Probably the best travel, maybe the second or third best traveling fan base in the country, I'd say, the Cubbies. Um, and they certainly show up to Miller Park. I don't think that's called Miller Park anymore, though.
It's American Family Field, I believe, because we
Yeah, it's a
celebrate
it's a
Americans and
mortgage
families
now.
here in the United States.
But give me Iminaga, the best pitcher in baseball so far.
All right, so in St. Louis, they had a rain out. I think it was on Friday, and so he didn't start. And let's just say it's going to be 11 days between his starts. That is a
Maybe he just like
long.
pitched a full bullpen underneath in the stadium in the batting cages and did his thing, got to 75 pitches, and they said, all right, just keep you on regular rest.
I mean, you could
Never
argue
know.
that maybe he was very loose for the start, and then
Right.
uh, that was maybe what threw him off. With that said, I'll still take the Brewers here. I like that home underdog price. I don't really love Milwaukee, but I really like the idea of being against the Chicago Cubs bullpen at this point. Moving now to the American League, we got Boston and Cutter Crawford, the favorite team of at A Brooks Bets, and the Baltimore Orioles, which I'm coincidentally wearing a Orioles t-shirt as we record. Corbin Burns is starting for the O's. Cutter Crawford for Boston. Looks like Corbin Burns a gigantic minus 175 favorite. Total is 8, juiced all the way to under. Might see 7.5 on this one. Two good pitching prospects, or two just good pitchers in general, not no longer prospects. They're too old for that. What do we think about this game?
Yeah, I want to hear what you think about it first, actually.
Okay. So Cutter Crawford, awesome to start the season. Stats have been great. I will admit, I don't know that I've had a great season betting against or on the Red Sox for that matter. I feel like I've had a lot of trouble betting against Tanner Houck. And then when I've backed Boston, they've scored like one run a game, it feels like. So I think Baltimore's a vastly superior team. I think that's easy to say based on last year's record. I just feel like the Red Sox, great pitching. I mean, everyone's pitching well in the major league right now. I don't know that that'll continue for too long. It does feel like a really big price for one of those great traveling fan bases that I know you were alluding to earlier. I think Burns is not at his best just yet. I think the best is yet to come. And that does make me a little bit more interested in the Red Sox. I just feel like the price is big enough that I don't think the market's expecting Boston to be very competitive here, or that feels like they're a long shot to the market. And I think I agree with that. So if anything, I'd probably lean towards an under, or maybe that Red Sox plus 1.5 on the road. Because just in general, it's probably pretty juiced at this price. But that's probably what I'm seeing is a low scoring game. And that way you'd be, I mean, you could get lucky and get a Red Sox road victory, but that's how I feel. How do you feel?
Yeah, that's a good rundown of it. I think that this price is too high on the Orioles. I think that Crawford has pitched just as good as Burns, and obviously Vegas is not in the business of what just happened. They're trying to predict the future outcomes of sporting events.
Yep,
So I do like Crawford. This is a pitcher's park now for sure.
definitely.
The Orioles are such a better team, I think. I mean, the Orioles and Yankees are probably going to run away with this thing. The Red Sox might hang around the wild card. We'll see. And they've pitched kind of out of their shoes. I've been high on Crawford all year, so I have been profitable, I think, betting on Crawford. Burns is obviously their ace and maybe one of the top 5 or 10 pitchers in the league, starters. So I like the Red Sox plus 1.5 will be my official play on this one.
Okay. Yeah, only minus 138 currently at Bet Online, where if you are
All right.
looking for a new sports book, go check out sportsbetting.ag or Bet Online. They are sister sites, and they will give you free money if you follow links in the podcast description, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on YouTube. Go sign up, get some free money from casino. The best way to win money from casinos is using their own money against them. All right, so really quick before we get to the next game on this list, who's finishing last in the AL East?
The Blue Jays.
Ooh, I'll say Rays, but interesting.
Yeah.
Feel free to come into our comments, leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or subscribe on YouTube. Comment on one of our videos. Tell us who's finishing last in the AL East, and we'll see.
We'll get to Alek Manoah here in a second.
Yeah, can't wait. We got Oakland and some guy named Estes. He's starting on the road at those Tampa Bay Rays. Speaking of, and I'm thinking it's gonna be
Pass.
okay. We'll just move
I
on to the
mean,
next one.
this one,
Yeah, we don't
this
even
is
have a
just
number.
not a fun game
What's
to
the point?
watch. This is.
It should be low scoring. I
Yeah.
guess it's not getaway day because it's a night game. I know in Tampa they love starting at 12:40 Eastern time or something like that, and I always forget to set my fantasy lineup. Move next to much bigger game: Kansas City visiting Minnesota. Seth Lugo at Bailey Ober. Over a minus 126 favorite at home, total 7.5. Juices split both ways, so no real indication on the total there. Huge regression candidate in Seth Lugo, who's been awesome and has kind of shown in the past that he had those capabilities to get some weak contact, keep the ball on the ground, et cetera, et cetera. Bailey Ober, meanwhile, a major extreme fly ball pitcher, but it works fairly well. I feel like Kansas City's been not getting a ton of respect in this series. Minnesota had to hold on for a dear life on Monday to win on Memorial Day. What do we think about this matchup? Pretty cheap price for Minnesota, who's generally considered a better team, I think, from the marketplace, but certainly hasn't proven it so far this season.
They certainly have been, and I'm far more interested in betting on the Royals when they're at home. They've been way more profitable at home. Maybe this young team, maybe they like the water fountains. I don't know, but I do think Lugo's a regression candidate. He's like 8-1 though. I mean, the guy's been great for the Royals. I'd be interested in maybe looking up what his home and away splits are if he's pitched a lot at home, and that's part of the thing. And
well, first season for him in Kansas City, if I'm not mistaken. So I mean, it's
yeah,
you could certainly look over his entire career, and it seems like most starters are better at home, but just how drastic are the splits?
You brought that up too, that the entire OPS, all the offensive stats league wide have been pretty far down. You think that's a first 2 months of the season problem or a thing we'll see throughout the summer?
I have this baseball that I'm holding in my hand if you're watching us on video. I think it's from 6 years ago. I feel like Major League Baseball are using dead balls, and that's why it's so hard to hit home runs. Because I'm seeing a lot of fly balls that look like they are off the bat, the reaction from the hitter. I feel like we're playing with a dead ball, which makes me very concerned that all of a sudden there's going to be a big switch. And then we're going to see balls flying out like we did in the COVID playoffs way back when there were like center fielders coming in for pop flies that were landing 20 rows back in empty stadiums. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. I don't trust the front office whatsoever. I think, I mean, this is a big game because if the ball is traveling and is flying significantly, Bailey Ober is not anywhere near good enough pitcher with his fly ball tendencies, because that means potentially a lot of home runs. I think I trust Lugo more, and he's an underdog, so I'll go Kansas City in this one. We'll move next to Alek Manoah. Hopefully he hasn't eaten too much tonight and does make the start on Wednesday. But Alek Manoah and the Toronto Blue Jays at A. Brooks Betts picked to finish last in the American League East on this May 28 podcast for the May 29th card. Chicago, the White Sox version, will start Chris Flexen a plus 151 underdog at home, totals 8.5. What say you about Alek Manoah, my newest signing to Who Needs a UCL?
Alek Manoah was like one of the coolest guys ever when he got mic'd up during the All-Star game and then struck out the side. And ever since that moment, it's been a rough road for Mr. Alek Manoah.
Yes, indeed.
That was I'm looking to and for the record, yes, the Blue Jays will I just predicted them to finish last in the AL East. I also predict the White Sox to finish last in the AL Central.
Whoa,
and probably last in the entire
way to go out on a limb. I don't know if that limb better be sturdy out there.
I'm not not saying that the White Sox are a much better team, but this might be the spot to buy the White Sox if you're so inclined. They're at home. They're against Alek Manoah and the underachieving Blue Jays, and you're getting a plus 150-ish on them. Sure, give me a White Sox flyer today.
I mean, I can't really go against that. I did bet against Alek Manoah. He looked pretty good against those Rays, who I picked to finish last in the AL East just seconds ago, if you were listening. If not, shame on you. And I gotta say, I don't know if he knows where the ball's going still. Because
Right.
his next start against Detroit, it seemed like a lot of arm side misses, and that was his journey to the complex league or whatever it was called way back when. Moving next, the New York Yankees visiting the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Luis Gil, who looks like he's finally kind of climbed over that final hurdle and looks like a stud now, which is not good for anyone who either doesn't like the Yankees or might have a favorite team in that division. Tyler Anderson, pitcher for the Angels, another one of those regression candidates. Looks like Luis Gil, a minus 180, 180 favorite away from home, which is pretty big considering the Angels haven't been given up on upon by the Major League Baseball market just yet, though maybe this is the start of it all. Total's 8.5. What do we think about this one?
I was just watching the Yankees game as we were leading into this podcast, and I was kind of doing a little research, and then I kind of realized that they're probably the best team in the league. They have the best ERA in the league, and they've hit the most home runs offensively in the league. And Aaron Judge is heating up. And then Juan Soto smacked the ball so hard and did like 14 dances around the bases the way he does with all of his swag. Scott Boras is in the stands just watching him with money signs on his eyeballs. I mean, it seems like it's lining up for the Yankees, which, as you mentioned before, I hate that. But that's not what we're here to do, to root for your favorite teams. The
Correct.
Yankees are a wagon, and I am afraid of them, and I don't like it. And he'll, like you said, he seems to have gotten the little kid, um, what do you call it, on the bicycle, the training wheels off. So he's going
Yes.
past 6 innings.
Yes.
He's going into the seventh. He's kind of grown up a little bit. The Yankees have let him grown up. We'll see how that happens all summer, but then they're going to get Garrett Cole back, and I mean, awesome. Can't wait. Um, the Yankees announcers were just talking about how beautiful the water fountains are, and the weather's always so good in Anaheim, and there's more Yankees fans than Angels fans in the stands, and they're just so happy. They're just so Michael K. All
Mm.
right. They're a better team. They're probably going to win the game. I'm not interested in the Angels backing, so I'm going to watch
Yeah,
the Yankees.
I'm just I don't know what it's going to take for me to start backing the Angels. I'm not looking forward to those days because they're probably coming in September, and that'll be the point where I'll be considering not just throwing my phone off the
Maybe
balcony.
when Trout's back, if he gets back, that
Oh,
might be a couple
well, I
spots.
mean, yeah, I think my over under 20 games, under 20 is probably in play still at this point in the season. I don't know what to do with this one, really. It's probably look at a run line of the Yankees get 9 at bats. So Yankees minus 1.5. I don't love doing that. That's really not my type, but I don't know what to do because I don't think the Angels can hit, and I don't like their pitcher either. Moving next in the last one on the American League on this Wednesday, May 29th baseball card, year of our Lord 2024, Justin Verlander and the Houston Astros at Seattle and George Kirby. Kirby, a slight minus 110 favorite, got even money coming back on the Astros. Total is 7, just a little bit to over, but not too much. Saw last night's game. Seattle scored 3 in the first inning and did not score again, but somehow still won the game. The Astros, I think, got 2 in the fifth, and that was it. Not a lot of runs to be expected. And it's a night game in Seattle, so don't expect a lot of home runs there. And with that dead baseball, just all goes in the same direction. What do we think about George Kirby? Because I will admit I have not had a great experience with either fading him, especially in Seattle. I have not had a great time. But I did, I think, bet against him with the Nationals this weekend, and that went well.
I know he doesn't walk very many people.
He
He,
does
I
not.
think he's had 70 something starts in his big league career, and he has 50 something walks. So, I mean, the guy really likes to pitch inside the zone. He's good at it. I mean, he's not a bad pitcher, but I would actually like to see him open it up a little bit. I mean, effectively wild was a thing back in my day. He's certainly not that or anything close. He don't think I can just see Altuve and Jordan and Bregman. I can see them kind of feasting in this. I don't know. I don't like the matchup for an aggressive and good and kind of mad Houston offense who probably has underachieved. I mean, they have underachieved, but I think they'll get better. I think might be the time. I think you asked me last podcast. I think this might be the time we talk about Houston. I mean, they're playing. the number one team in their division, they're only 4.5 games back. Looks like in the standings. So despite being 6 games under 500, I like to back the underdogs slightly.
That they're
Verlander
definitely
and the
underdog.
Astros in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think because I think I can vividly remember, I think the Yankees specifically in Seattle last year with George Kirby when he was kind of coming up and everyone was in love with him. And they were about the same type of price. And I think the Yankees gave up one run in the first inning, and that was enough for Seattle to win. George Kirby was awesome. Might have thrown a one hitter or something like that. It wasn't a perfect game because I remember those vividly, and I seem to always bet against those. But I think I'm with you liking Houston. It's definitely not a comfortable price at just even money. I think I'd want more than that potentially, but Justin Verlander also is starting to look like more like who we've known him to be. Certainly he's not the same guy he was in Detroit, but he's still great. And I mean, Seattle has so much swing and miss. That offense is one I like to be against as much as possible, especially as a big road favorite. Back, I went against them Friday and Saturday in Washington, D.C. last weekend. Now they're in Washington State where they play a lot better. That makes it a lot more challenging, but I think I'm with you leaning to Houston as well. Now we'll move to interleague, and we've got 4 more games left to go, including a doubleheader in Pittsburgh. We got Pittsburgh at Detroit. Looks like the first one on the list is what was scheduled today. Jared Jones at Tarek Skubal. I figured you'd probably be excited to talk pitching in this matchup.
Oh yeah.
Skubal minus 150, minus 150 favorite. Total is 7. Not expecting a lot of runs, and I think doubleheaders will probably play into that as well.
The sequel being Paul Skeens against Undecided. So this is an exciting day at the ballpark if you are I guess they're on the road in Detroit, but this is a 2-for-1 that I'd like to go see.
Totally.
Jared Jones and Paul Skeens and Tarek Skubal so far. Doesn't
And
get much better than that.
Jack Flaherty will be the other on the other.
That's even better. I mean, those are 4 great pitchers. They've been fantastic. I don't see the line for. Oh, there it is. Jared
So
Jones is.
I'll give it to you again. So Scuba minus
Yeah.
150 total is 7 right now. What I'm seeing, what I'm using.
Let's go under 7. Why not? I mean, I think that's a pretty low total, but Jones and Skubal are 2 of my favorites, and they both. I mean, I believe it was maybe last week or 2 weeks ago. I bet against Skubal, and he only gave up 1. And I mean, he's great. I want to go under 7 in this one. I see 6.5 here too. So
I don't blame you. I mean, I think in that type of situation, you definitely want the 7 versus 6.5 because it's worth paying for that push point. Because 3-3,
4-3,
you're a loser at 6.5, and you still have a shot at that game getting an ending, and that puts you in a better position. I think I'm with you. Don't see a lot of runs in that matchup, though. I feel like Scuba was a bigger favorite than I was expecting because this was supposed to happen on Tuesday and got pushed to Wednesday due to inclement weather. I feel like Jared Jones is starting to slip a little bit, but I don't know that's for sure yet. And we'll see. Certainly, if he slips against a really bad Detroit lineup, then that might give me an even more comfortable place to say that. But he's been okay, and I feel like it's one of those things where eventually you start to not look like the dominant because you just can't dominate forever. Next game, and it is actually next in our rotation order, is Paul Skeens in Pittsburgh visiting Jack Flaherty. It looks like Flaherty and Detroit are very slight, minus 110 favorite here. Total is also 7. Want to go back-to-back unders, maybe play under in the first game. If that doesn't win, play it again in the second and try to get a split.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Flaherty has been it's a bounce back season for him for sure. I think he was a Cy Young candidate 2 or 3 years ago. Certainly wasn't last year. But it was yeah, and then Paul Skeens is the most exciting pitcher in baseball right now. I think that under would be a fun bet for sure. I kind of like the Pirates in this one on the side. I just don't believe in the Tigers all that much. Their offense is not good. I don't know. Neither one of these teams are that great, and you don't get rich betting on bad teams. So, yeah, stick with the under.
I mean, I don't blame you. I was against the Tigers from Monday through Thursday of last week, and that was 4-0. I did lose on them on Sunday, I want to say, where they scored a grand total of 2 runs, and that was enough for them to beat those last place facing Toronto Blue Jays, as at A Brooks Bets has already projected. I think I'm looking just Detroit at home, very cheap, but cheap for a reason. I think I like under there too. Moving next to Arizona and Ryan Nelson somehow making another start unless he gets jumbled or thrown out of there. We'll see what happens. With Dane Dunning coming back off the IL for his last start, was pretty competitive at Philadelphia. Got a lot of respect, I felt, but ended up taking a loss. Part of that was him throwing a pickoff play where they had a guy dead to rights into center field. Currently Dunning, though, minus 125 favorite at home. Total is 9, juiced a little bit more to over. And this one feels very cheap on a Texas team that has not been playing well, to be fair. But I don't think Arizona, it's a World Series rematch. Maybe there's some extra motivation for Arizona, but I don't think that's enough.
No, yeah, that is. I didn't even notice that till you just pointed it out. World Series rematch. Look at that. Um, yeah, I'm gonna be looking to back the Rangers in this one as well. Corbin Carroll's been struggling. He says no power at all. Lourdes Gurriel's not really been the same. Christian Walker's been okay. They're just not. They got hot. I mean, they were the last team in the playoffs and they got hot, right? So it's like, how good really are they? It's kind of, they got to answer that question over the next month or two, I think. I kind of say goodbye to their division, but they might be able to sneak into the playoffs again. And if you do that, we've seen them go on a crazy run. So I think it might be a little bit fluky, their World Series appearance. We'll see as it happens, but I'm gonna look to back the Rangers as I have most of this year. Hasn't been very great so far, but I do want them the second half as well.
All right, and then we'll move to the last game on our list before we get to our best bets. And we have Cleveland and Logan Allen visiting Ty Block and the Colorado Rockies, who are somehow still pretty hot. Been hot, stayed hot, lost a bunch of games, and then came back and are hot again. Cleveland a minus 146 favorite away. Total is 11. And this is a night game in Colorado, so it is not a getaway day.
Yeah, I don't really know what to do with this one. The Rockies have been hitting well. Chris Bryant hit a home run today or yesterday as you're watching this podcast, and Charlie Blackman has been fantastic. What do they call him? Chuck Nasty. I
Yeah.
mean, all those kind of old veteran guys that they've spent some money on are doing all right. So I guess when that happens, you get a little bit of performance, a little bit of results. I wouldn't mind the Rockies at this price. I just don't. Nah, the Indians are just a better team. I'm sticking with the. I guess they're not the Indians. They're the Guardians.
They are the
You
Guardians.
call them
Yeah.
the Tribe? I guess not. You can't do that anymore
No,
either.
no,
The Tribe
no.
of Guardians? No.
I think you could probably say Guardians of the Galaxy, but I don't really know enough
Okay.
about that series to really understand it. I think
Right.
I'm going Colorado here as well. Just
Okay.
prices big.
Yeah.
Logan Allen has been good, but has also had some pretty bad, kind of inexplicably bad outings against the White Sox this year. I don't think it's impossible to see that happening again against the Guardians as well. So we'll move. If you're not following us on all the social media platforms, whatever, at A Brooks Bets, great place to grab all of Andrew's thoughts. I'm at the real underscore G Warner. Of course, look for us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, leave 5-star reviews. It's huge for our search rankings, and we will read whatever you write, especially if it's baseball related. We'll even act it out if it's relevant. At A Brooks Bets, you want to give us your best bet, and then I'll wrap us up and get us out of here.
My best bet is going to be in the Pacific Northwest. I'm
Okay.
taking the Astros. I'm taking Justin Verlander. I can see Altuve doing it in this one. I don't know why I'm having this little vision. Maybe it's a birthday vision. It's my birthday tomorrow.
Hey now.
Yeah, so let's win a best bet on my birthday to pull ahead of 500. I'm 4-4-1 on the year. I'm going to go with the Astros on the road as a plus 100 or plus 105 dog.
This is real underscore G Warner. You just heard at A Brooks Bets on this Betting the Pitch MLB podcast. He gave you a birthday best bet. The Houston Astros, I was about to say Oakland Astros. Houston Astros plus 100 even money underdog right now. Justin Verlander going on this Wednesday, May 29th card. For my best bet, I'm going to stay in the AL West. I'm the real underscore G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. If you're not a member of my Patreon, check it out, patreon.com. So it's a real underscore G Warner. Best spot to get all my plays, leans, write-ups, everything across all sports, including a lot of NHL, more than I expected, even some NBA today, plus plenty of baseball stuff as well on there. For my best bet, I'm going to stay, like I said, in the AL West. I'm going to go those Texas Rangers, a minus 125 short favorite against Arizona in a rematch of the 2023 World Series. Grab at A Brook Bets, his best bet, the Astros plus 100. My best bet, the Rangers minus 125. That'll do you for this episode of Betting the Pitch. And that'll do it as we're running out of time. So I'll talk to you all very soon.